Hello and welcome to NPC. That stands for Next Portable Console. It's the show about the games we take with us. And would you believe it? My name is Brendon Bigley. I'm here with John Voorhees.
Yes, I am John Voorhees. We don't have Federico. He has a jackhammer going on the floor above him in his apartment. So he may, I don't know, we'll see. We may get an appearance from him during XL, but we will have to see because major construction is happening in Rome, Italy. And he's,
we love that, folks.
Yeah, he sent me a little video, and it was just crazy how loud it was.
Yeah. Well, thankfully here in Tokyo, getting quiet. It's my last episode I'll be recording from Tokyo.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. This
is the last one. Yeah, I'm leaving next week. We did push our date. We pushed our flight by 2 days, so we get two extra days in Tokyo. But that's it. That's our cutoff. 2 days. Make the most of it, and then we come home, which feels surreal. But this will be the last one from Tokyo. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of news. A lot of weird stuff. Do you want to start by talking about Switch 2 webcams?
Yeah, I think we should, because I guess, when the Switch 2 was announced, it was said at some point that you didn't necessarily need to have the official webcam or, like a Nintendo sanctioned webcam to make its online video sharing feature work. But it turns out that a lot of modern webcams don't work. And Sean Hollister over at The Verge spent some time trying to figure out what was going on. And it seems like older webcams actually work better than the more modern ones. And while it's not entirely clear what's going on, it has to do primarily with the USB spec and various protocols that are used for sending video at different resolutions over a USB cable.
Yeah.
And the problem is that some of the more modern cameras use, better resolutions and different more modern specs, whereas what Nintendo's doing with their system is, I think it's 480p. It's a very low resolution video that's being sent.
Yeah.
And as a result, because these more modern cameras default to the better quality first and check that, it's causing the Switch to fail to connect to the camera and not work. And it's not clear whether Nintendo's working on a fix for this and a software update. It sounds like the kind of thing that could be a firmware update to fix it. But there are definitely manufacturers, because Sean Hollister talked to Ugreen and some others, I think Elgato. And Ugreen has a mixture of webcams, some of which work, some of which don't at all. And it's kind of their older models that do. So they were the ones who had kind of a list of 3 or 4 things that had to be true in order for a webcam to work. The problem is that those specs are very, very particular things about the USB spec in particular that are not the kind of thing that's listed on a box or a spec sheet on a website.
Right.
You're really kind of just rolling the dice when you try one of these webcams.
That's fun. We love that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Good times all around for everybody.
Before the Switch 2 launched, there was some kind of messaging on Nintendo's website saying there was going to be some kind of compatibility tool where you could check if your webcam was going to work or not. And I guess that never happened. I guess they just didn't do that.
I don't think I've ever seen that. No.
Yeah. And
I had assumed that I would be able to just use any webcam myself, because I've got a bunch of different ones from over the years lying around. But Federico ended up shaming me into getting the official Nintendo one. I don't have the Piranha Plant, because the Piranha Plant was sold out around me, but I did get the official one.
Piranha Plant has mixed reviews anyway.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
People don't seem to
No,
like
I
it very
haven't.
much.
Why? Why is that? Do you
Mostly
know?
the resolution is pretty bad. It just looks worse than the official one.
Oh, interesting.
It looks better aesthetically because it's a Piranha Plant, but the actual picture is not as crisp.
I kind of like the little official one. I mean, it's it's right here. I was just kind of trying to grab it. It does look nice. It because it's so small. It's kind of it's the kind of thing you can put in a living room, and it's not going to scream, "Hey, I'm a webcam in your living room watching you watch TV."
I'm wondering how wild I should get. When I get home and I finally put my Switch 2 in my actual setup at home, how wild? Should I get my Fujifilm plugged into my Switch 2. There's definitely a way to do it. I feel like actually we could probably just jump to the next little bit, but somebody got the Game Boy camera running on the Switch 2, using, kind of exactly what we were expecting, which was like the analog pocket dock, and then, a Game Boy camera plugged into that, but and then I think a capture card out from there, right? That was the solution.
Think so. Yeah. I suspect you could do it with other things,
Yeah, exactly. Because the piece that matters there, really more than anything else, is the capture card, right? Like that's If you get that capture card working, then it'll probably be fine. So if I could put this in webcam mode and then get that capture card plugged in there, I'm sure it would work fine, which might be fun. Give that a shot.
It's that last connection to the Switch that really that's important, I think.
Exactly. Actually, while we're talking about the Game Boy camera, can we talk about Riley's new app?
Yeah, we should. This is pretty wild.
I love it.
They're making a Game Boy camera app for Delta, basically. I mean, it's AltStore has created it. And what I was surprised at, I assumed that this was, I wasn't sure what to expect of this. Turns out, you have to have the ROM for the Game Boy camera.
Oh,
cartridge.
Really?
Yeah, because I downloaded the test flight because you can get it now if you're a Patreon subscriber, and I fired it up and it said you need to load up the ROM. And while I have copied all my ROMs, I never really thought to copy the ROM from the Game Boy camera, so I haven't, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it since I did it. Just downloaded it yesterday afternoon, but it looks pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's it's on the iPhone obviously, and it looks like it's basically the same UI as the Game Boy camera UI. So.
Yeah, with the added benefit of if you have the iPhone 16 Pro, you get to use the camera control button as well to control exposure. They've basically modded the ROM, it seems like, to just add a couple things here and there, which is really fun. Fascinating, cool app. Honestly, I've played with a lot of apps that have this kind of like bit dithering art style to them that are trying to like replicate the Game Boy camera over the years, and loved it. But just having it like as its own standalone camera app, it's just too fun to not use. I feel like I got to do it. I'm always messing with weird camera apps on my iPhone. Have you? It's totally unrelated to anything that we talk about on this podcast. Have you seen the new camera app by Not Boring?
I have seen it. I haven't tried it yet.
It's amazing.
What makes it amazing?
The UI is fantastic, from like all the little sound effects to just the physicality and the haptics of it. They also are doing something similar to what Halide is doing with their Zero processing is the Halide one. Right. They have this thing called Raw. I think it's Raw Plus. Is what they're calling it for the Not Boring camera. And the tones that it gets are just beautiful, like really, nice. Really stunning. I've been messing around with it a lot on this trip and like trying to get it more in my workflow, but definitely check it out. Would recommend.
Yeah, definitely. Fan. What weird little Game Boy camera apps do you like? Do you have any that you're like?
I don't know if I have any anymore. Yeah.
I mean, I know that they've come out, like novelty camera apps are a thing that have been around since the beginning of the iPhone.
Yeah.
But and a lot of them are better than others, but
I wonder if I just went to the App Store and typed in Game Boy camera.
Yeah.
I could find one. One that I've used in the past.
But I think what they're doing with AltStore is probably one of the most ambitious and interesting ones I've seen, because it integrates directly with the hardware in a unique way that is both, at the same time modern and a throwback to the actual Game Boy camera UI, which I think that's what really makes it unique. I'll be probably pulling that out this weekend. I need to find my Game Boy camera. It's in a bin somewhere in my closet, and get my Epilogue GB operator out and rip that ROM off there. I still no news from Epilogue, by the way. That's the news about Epilogue is that, boy, they move slow, but hopefully we'll be seeing that SNES operator soon.
Yeah. I just looked it up. Of course, it's Bitcam by Icon Factory. Which
right. I totally forgot about that app.
Came out years ago, but is just a very cool app. That was one that I used a lot. While we're talking about companies and messaging, we don't even have this in the rundown, but I did want to bring it up. Oh, no, we do have it in the rundown. The whole Dbrand Killswitch 2 thing.
Yeah, I just put that in there this morning. That's super disappointing.
I want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you end up ordering one? You didn't, right?
No, I came so close, like,
and then this happened?
2 days before this news broke. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just do a little recap. So Dbrand, before the Switch 2 was announced, starts marketing that there's a Killswitch coming for the Switch 2. The Killswitch, I can actually show it for the audio listener. I mean, for the video listeners. Hang on one second. I'm reaching and grabbing
Brendon
my
scooching
ROG
across
Ally.
the floor.
I had to rip my headphones out of my ears to do it. So this is what the Killswitch looks like on the ROG Ally X. It's a case that goes around the Ally, and then if you get this added travel case on the front, it basically creates a case just about as flat and about as compact as the device itself, which, when you're traveling is amazing. Big fan. So they announced one for the Switch 2 and launched it when the Switch 2 came out. Some people got their hands on it, specifically like a lot of reviewers got their hands on it, like right when it came out. And the reviews were like positive to good. People generally seemed to like it. And then suddenly when like actual non-reviewer people started getting their hands on it, there were a lot of posts on the Dbrand subreddit of videos of people holding the Switch 2 like by one Joy-Con, which if you've held the Switch 2, the Joy-Con 2, they attach magnetically, as we've talked about a lot. They're so solid. Like, they do not move at all.
And it's important because, like, I think what a lot of people in these videos said, they would be, like, playing the game. They might scratch their face with one hand, and all of a sudden, the Joy-Cons fall off.
Right. So this is the problem with the Dbrand Killswitch, at least at launch, is that for some reason, the Joy-Cons would just snap off. And I think people were trying to figure out, like, is this like is it a specific thing to every kill switch, right? Like, is it just like a manufacturing error where some of them are having this problem and some of them are not? And as it turns out, it is just like an across-the-board problem with the Killswitch 2, just because of the way they were designed and manufactured, which removes, so interesting, but removes a critical air gap in the top and bottom of the Switch 2 Joy-Cons. So if you look if you have a Switch 2, and you look at it, there's like a little tiny air gap between where the Joy-Con connects and the actual like screen body itself. And if you play Welcome Tour, like the Nintendo Welcome Tour, and you go over to the Joy-Con section where they talk all about the technology of the Joy-Con, they specifically shout out how important that air gap is to actually allow for the connection to stay that strong, which is very interesting.
That's wild. And
it turns out the Dbrand case removes that air gap and basically creates more leverage for the Joy-Cons to just break off without using the magnetic release. So initially, the response from Dbrand was not good. A lot of people were saying it was very reminiscent of the Steve Jobs AntennaGate response, which is you're holding it wrong. Why would you ever hold your Switch with one hand? On the Joy-Con, I mean, everybody does that all the time, especially, I mean, the thing has a touchscreen on it. So
yeah, people are not playing one-handed, but they're shifting around. They're using the touch screen. Their face itches, whatever it is. I mean,
I saw one comment specifically that said, "Why would you pay? I think it's $80. Like, why would you pay $80 to make your Switch more vulnerable to drops?" Which I think is a great take. All of this said, I have had one on order for like 2.5 weeks, and I've actually heard nothing from Dbrand about it. Like, they said order confirmed, and then I didn't get any more messaging from it. And it, like, the first week went by without hearing anything, and I was like, it's interesting. And then the second week was when all of this stuff started happening, and I was like, they must have had like an inkling, like maybe something in the back of their head or whatever. They're like, let's hold off on orders for a little bit while we address this. And they then had a second response, which was basically like, that was an unacceptable response to tell people they were holding it wrong. We're going to fix it for everybody who's ordered one and everybody who's going to get one going forward. They're redesigning the Joy-Con, and, which I find very interesting, and they're going to create a second version of the Killswitch 2 case that they said is more ambitious, but they didn't know if they could make it work initially. So, like, the version of the Killswitch 2 that exists right now is a version that they were like, we can mass manufacture this.
Well,
we know
that's the thing. Like, this is the one that was that they knew was going to work, right?
Yes.
Not the stretch,
which is silly.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to see what that second Killswitch looks like. And I'll say
Yeah.
this also, like, and I think you feel the same way. I think we've talked about this on the show, but like, I'm always very iffy about Dbrand. I don't really align with the way they speak to customers and the way they
No.
market or message in general.
Their social media stuff is really gross sometimes.
Yeah, I find it like just the worst version of what brands took away from Wendy's when Wendy's decided to become a person instead of a brand.
Right.
But reading 1.5 million reviews of ROG Ally X cases before I made a decision, it was like, I should probably do the Dbrand one, and I did. And honestly, I think the Killswitch is fantastic for the ROG Ally X. So, feelings about the brand aside, like I think that was a good move for me at least.
Yeah.
Which then gave me an inkling of consumer goodwill towards the company to then order the Killswitch, and then this happens. So now I'm like, okay, what's going to happen when I get my Killswitch? Very interested in receiving that, and I'll definitely talk about it on the show when that comes in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think one of the problems here, I mean, obviously they didn't do enough testing is what I would say. That's what I take away from it is they built this thing to catch the wave of the Switch 2 release. And they're not alone in that. There are a lot of companies building grips and cases and all sorts of things. And this is kind of an iffy period when you buy those kinds of accessories because these companies are racing to get this stuff out based on sometimes just rumored specs. Very common in like the iPhone industry too, where cases are built based on just idle speculation or leaked plan documents that aren't necessarily exactly what's coming. And I'm sure that that's what happened here as well. And so, I think if we like to experiment with a lot of things, but if you want to make sure you get something that's really good, sometimes it pays to wait with these kind of things. And I've kind of been waiting myself, even though I find the Switch 2 uncomfortable to play for an extended period handheld, because just knowing from the Switch 1, like that MobaPad HD grips that I got, they're so good. And they didn't come out until the last 9 months of the device. And I just feel like if I wait a little bit longer, there's going to be something really rock solid within the next, 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. One of the things I've been thinking about actually in regards to that is how difficult it may end up being to make accessories like that for the Switch 2 because of the magnetic connection. I was thinking specifically about the
it may be
Nitro
proprietary,
deck.
Right?
Yeah,
it might be proprietary.
It might
for all we know.
I was thinking about the cracked Nitro deck, which was a very interesting concept for a device that came out, I think a little bit too late in the Switch's life cycle, or else I think I probably would have enjoyed my time with it a lot more. But it was basically a thing that you would slide the Switch screen into that looks like a Steam Deck. Basically holds a little bit more like a Steam Deck. It's a little bit bulkier, more comfortable. I didn't love mine personally, but I know a lot of people really did, especially the second version of it that they made that addressed a lot of issues.
They were both flawed in different ways, I think, because I got both of them.
Oh, did you?
Neither one of them ended up being ones that I stuck with because they were both a little flawed in different ways. But you're right. They took advantage of the rails,
the sliding
on the original
rails.
Switch with the sliding thing, which made it a really nice, solid connection. That aspect of it worked really well.
Right.
Here, who knows about these magnetic connectors? Whether they're being, whether they're Nintendo's going to license the ability to third parties to connect to those if they, or whether it's, I don't have any idea whether that's a standard part. It doesn't seem like one to me, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I think that's going to make things like a MobaPad a lot more difficult to get our hands on eventually, which is a little bit of a bummer because I was really thinking like, all of these companies that spun up around the success of the Switch 1, creating things like the MobaPad and the Nitro Deck and the Hori split pad, like all of these things which are universally beloved, like, I'm sure they just like really got it in gear when the Switch 2 came out and they were like, cool, we're gonna get this stuff into production as soon as possible. But because of this difference in the connection mechanism, like I'm sure they're bummed. I'm sure they're bummed that they can't do it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any at all. Have you of that kind of thing, of a replacement Joy-Con?
No, what's funny is I was at a place called Yodobashi Camera yesterday in Shibuya, which is just a huge electronics department store. I was looking once again, John, to see if they had a Pro Controller.
Of course you were.
Desperate, because we have a friend staying with us for a couple of days this week, and we were trying to play a lot of Mario Kart 3-player, and I have, my 8BitDo SNES or SN30 Pro, and then the Joy-Cons, but two of us have to use the Joy-Con sideways. So I was like, let me go see if we get a Pro controller. And I thought for a second that I saw Switch 2 Joy-Cons that were like third-party ones that were Japan only, and they ended up just being like really bizarre-looking Switch 1 Joy-Cons instead. But they just had this big wall of Switch controllers, and it was hard to tell what was for the Switch 2 and what wasn't. I mean, technically, I guess it's all for the Switch 1. But anyway, I have not seen any yet. For as many unbelievably interesting Switch 2 accessories as they have exclusively in Japan in stores in places like that, I have not seen any Joy-Cons yet.
You are going to come back from Japan and people are going to ask you, Brendon, what did you do while you were in Japan? And you're going to have one answer, which is, I looked for a Pro controller.
I looked for a Pro controller the entire time. I looked for Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time, the entire time. And then when I found that, I looked for a Pro controller. It is my greatest defeat on this trip that I have not gotten a Pro controller, especially... I've posted this in our Discord every once in a while, and people will always respond like, "Oh, it's really easy to get them in the States right now." Like they're
you'll get home and you'll go down to Target or Best Buy or something. It'll be just right there.
I'm gonna get one like 8 seconds in New York. I'm sure. I could probably just order one online and have it shipped to my apartment by the time I get home. But anyway, silly. What else we got? We got the MagicX.
We do. We got more specs about it, which is kind of interesting. This has become kind of the thing with a lot of these companies is, we get these dribbles of information. Yeah. Keeps it in the news. Amber Nick did a great job with that with the RG slide.
Did you order a slide, John?
No, I didn't.
I also didn't order a slide.
Yeah, I kind of decided I'm going to take a pass. But the MagicX 040, I might. Because this is something brand new and different.
Can I tell you the deal breaker right off the bat?
What's the deal breaker?
The screen is smaller than the DS screen.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, I can't.
It's like, why? How can you do this to us? It was not a big screen to begin with, right?
All of these things have like one hitch,
Yeah, it is teeny tiny. It really is teeny tiny.
Maybe people get their hands on it and they love it. I don't know. Maybe you get your hand. Hey, you should order one. And let us know.
No, I may. We'll see. I want to see what the pricing is on this because we don't have that yet.
Right.
But it's a 4.5 inch IPS screen that's 800 by 480. So
interesting.
I mean, yeah, it's a little hard to really. That's like those are dimensions that are not like something that people normally think in terms of. But so it's a little hard to grok what that means. But yeah, it is ultimately smaller than a DS screen. It's got an all-winner A133P and a Cortex A53 chip. So it's got 2 gigs of RAM. Let's see what else. Up to 512 gigabyte microSD card, 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which is not that big, but not terrible. And it runs Android, Linux and Android.
Yeah. I'll also say right off the bat with those specs, I'm a little bit concerned about the all-winner A13 3P. Like that chip in particular is in the brick. And I've tried playing a lot of DS games on the brick, and some of them work great, and some of them not so much, and it feels less like an emulation problem and more like a horsepower problem.
Aren't DS games on the brick hard? I mean, I guess you must be playing the games that don't really require the second screen.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I've mentioned this on the show many times, and I'm still very slowly building a list of games that DS games that work great on one screen. But I'm wondering, like, if some of these games are struggling on one screen, how will this chip handle pushing all of those pixels simultaneously?
Yeah.
Especially considering I think it's twice the resolution of the original DS, if I'm not mistaken. So they're like, oh, we're targeting DS and we're targeting like 2x resolution DS. Like, I don't know if that's really in the cards here. As much as I love and like want to get behind, and I've talked about on the show many times, like I want to get behind devices that are purpose built to target one device. Like I love that they are making this in the first place. In the same way, I was really hoping the RG slide was targeting PSP. It's very interesting to put a chip in it that like might not be able to handle the device that they're targeting specifically.
Yeah, you know what? Another deal breaker with the slide that I saw was if you play PSP games on it, they're black bars. Mm-hmm. Just because of the aspect ratio.
It's 4:3, yeah.
I hadn't even really thought about.
The actual size of the screen though.
Yeah.
Like the actual display area of PSP is still larger than the PSP Go, which is nice. So like you're still
All right.
technically
So you're
getting,
still getting
yes.
basically the same thing. Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, yeah, I don't know, this MagicX thing. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Are there any emulators that we know of that will do this kind of stacked display, or do you think this is a proprietary thing they're working on?
I'm not sure about the Linux side.
Yeah.
I know Android, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, if this is running both, then I think there probably won't be a problem on that end. Because I think Drastic does it. But
Yeah, I guess that's right.
also, like, I've never had a device that could do this, you know, that had a stacked screen like this to even try it on. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could use an Android phone. I mean, that's why we have it with Drastic, but yeah.
Oh, that's true. I guess I could just bust out my... Oh, yeah, right. On the Android side. Yeah, I could
right,
bust
on the
out
Android side is what you could do there. So, interesting. All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. We got anything else today, John?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, apparently Russ over at Retro Game Core really likes the Legion Go S with the Z1 Extreme.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear the Legion Go S is not like DOA, you know?
Yeah, I was sort of suspecting it might be. So I was just interested to see that he had a good experience with it because, it doesn't really interest me. As I think I've said on the show before, I have the Legion Go already, and I don't feel like what's been announced for this year is enough of a step up for me to, invest that kind of money into another Legion Go, or an LIX for that matter. So I'm just kind of waiting and seeing with the Windows handhelds. I think Microsoft will get there, but I don't think it'll be before next year sometime, probably late next year.
I'm and I've said this to, I'll shout out AJ, our producer for Into the Aether, who has been asking me what Windows handheld to buy, and I'll say the same thing to the listeners that I said to them, which is, I think you could get a Z1 Extreme chip set handheld right now and probably be very happy, but I think I would probably wait for the Z3. That was like I mean, you and I agreed on that. That was like the biggest takeaway, weirdly, from CES while they were announcing the Z2 line was, you should wait for the Z3.
Yeah, and that was back in January.
That was January.
Right. At this point, you're maybe, I don't know, 6 to 12 months away from a Z3. So I agree. I would hold off. You know what? Speaking of Into the Aether, I thought I saw someone say that you have said both on that show and on this show. Yes, you, Brendon.
I know. I know what you're going to say already. Is the SD card thing?
Yes, you have referred to the microSD Extreme, which is a branding thing with SanDisk, I believe it is, of which I have many of those cards myself. The Switch 2, though, doesn't use Extreme; it uses Express. Express is like the standard for the fast microSD cards. So well, that's our little correction corner for today.
Correction corner. We're back in the realm of the memory card Pro Duo for the PlayStation Vita. We love it. We love proprietary memory.
Yeah, very expensive but fast. And as I understand it, that's mainly because of the load times. I mean, with the Switch 2 games, if you want the games to load fast, it's kind of necessary.
I still don't fully believe it.
Yeah, do you think they should? Because just to a degree, they're going to have to load into RAM anyway, even if it's from. So if they have some kind of caching, from a regular SD card, you would.
I'm just saying, like, look,
but I don't know.
I've played the new Rune Factory, on both the Switch 2, running off of a microSD Express card, and also on my ROG Ally X, the same game on both of them, running off of a regular microSD card. Same thing with Yakuza 0.
Okay, I was going to say, it's not,
Rune Factory's not maybe pushing pixels.
It's right. It's not Cyberpunk.
But also, think of all the people playing Cyberpunk on their Steam Decks.
No, you know what I mean? You're absolutely right.
I'm just wondering, hey, just throwing a little bit of speculation out there. I'm very interested in Nintendo being like, we have this like basically proprietary version of an SD card that you have to get and your old ones don't work anymore.
Had you ever even heard of Express microSD cards before this? Because I had not.
No.
I didn't even know they existed. And then I go on Amazon. It's like, oh, I see. They're twice as much or more than a regular card.
And 3 companies make them. It's SanDisk, Samsung, and Lexar, the only companies that make them. They didn't even have the higher end memory available yet, and no other device but the Switch 2 uses it. I'm just saying that feels a little bit suspicious. I just feel a little weird about it.
You're seeing a little bit of a conspiracy here. I follow you. Yeah, you may be right. You might be right.
I don't know. But anyway, the Legion Go S Z1 Extreme that runs SteamOS. I'm glad to hear that. Look, I'm a person with an Ally X that is basically booting into Bazzite like 98% of the time.
Right.
I get it. I think it's great. And I think if you're somebody who's in the market for a PC handheld right now, like you have, I think, a bunch of options. But if you wait for the Z3 series of chips, specifically like whatever the Z3 Extreme is like, that'll also be a great device. And if you wait that long, it'll be a lot of people like me offloading their ROG Ally X's to eBay, and then you can get one really cheap. So either way, I think waiting is probably the better move, but it's nice that the Go S is killer.
Yeah. A lot of people love Bazzite, Brendon, and the way I know that is that right before we moved NPC over to its own YouTube channel, I did a short of you talking about Bazzite on the Ally X.
Yeah.
It's got 12,000 views. It's like 10x any other short that I've ever done, and it just keeps going. Every time I look at our analytics, it's the top video on the Mac Stories channel. I have no idea why, but
Brendon Bazzite Bigley.
People like to hear you talk about Bazzite. Boy, they love it. They just eat it up.
I will say, and I'm gonna toe a line here, but boy, do people love arguing specifically about Bazzite. Like
that's probably why.
The Ally,
that's probably why it's popular.
The Ally subreddit, the Legion Go subreddit, and obviously the Bazzite subreddit. I mean, they're going at it. It is
all
like
the time.
Gangs of New York in there at all times with people.
What is there still to go at it about?
I don't know. It's you know what it's like every day there's another post. All right, now this is just a call out. Every day on like the Ally X subreddit, there's a post that's like, I don't understand why people like Bazzite. Windows forever, like Windows does everything I want. And then there's another post the next day that's like, I don't understand why anybody uses Windows. It's a horrible user interface. I'm going to use Bazzite. And it's like, don't console wars like free software
Bazzite.
Like this, like it's so boring. Just grow up and play a video game.
it's endless online. Oh man, unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. You know what? I think before we go, I do want to shout out that you did a great review of Mario Kart World.
Oh, thank you.
On Wavelengths. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, both the written and the video version. People should check it out. I mean, your title is Mario Kart World Review, almost the best Mario Kart.
Yeah.
What's the elevator pitch version of why it's almost the best?
Elevator pitch version is basically they got more ambitious with the game, which is a positive. I think that's great. Yeah. They could have just made Mario Kart 9 and it could have been all the stuff in Mario Kart 8 and then more. And that I think would have done the job for a lot of people. But they're Nintendo, and Nintendo is going to always take a weird swing. And what they decided to do this time was invest in the world side. And there are pros and cons to that, which is basically the crux of the review, is like the places where making it an open world helps and places where it hurts. I will say though, this week, I think a couple days ago, as of the time of this recording, Nintendo made Mario Kart World worse with a content update, a patch where they patched.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they patched out something in online multiplayer, which I'm sure from Nintendo's perspective is like an unintended bug or an unintended play style, but for a lot of people was the only way you could play online versus races where you were doing 3 laps on the same track instead of this new version of like Grand Prix versus races where you're doing 1 lap on a track and then driving, like commuting to another track.
Right.
And that counts as the other 2 laps. There was a workaround that people found where if everybody voted for random,
Yeah.
it would just pick a track and you would just do that track.
I see.
But if that's not the case, or at least as of a couple days ago, if that wasn't the case, then you might have a situation where you'd be like taking a track and then driving to another track, and that would be like a commuting race.
Right.
That's what I call them. I don't know what they're actually called. I just call them commutes. But they patched that out, and people are obviously so mad about it. And like, that's one of the things I specifically called out in my review is like, I'm sure they'll just patch in the ability to do that. Never in a million years did I think they do the opposite. But that's how Nintendo works. Nintendo always does exactly the opposite of what you think. So silly.
For sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. Well, I haven't played in a few days, so I haven't run across that. But I'll have to be on the lookout for it. I don't know if I think that's probably it for today, Brendon. What do you think?
I think so too.
I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap up here. We're gonna text Federico and see if we can get him on XL. Hopefully they're done jackhammering over his head. He literally sent me a video of his dog sleeping on a couch, oblivious to what was the loudest racket you can imagine. There's no way. I mean, this is not like children with drums and flutes outside your window, Brendon. This is like a jackhammer above your bedroom. So
yeah, maybe the opposite of that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll check in with him, and if not, it'll just be the two of us in XL, where I know I'm going to talk a little bit about Next UI.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. We've talked around it a bunch, but I wanted to dig in a little deeper. All right, everybody. Well, you can find me and Brendon all over the place online. You can also find Federico, but he's not here, so you can ignore him for now. But Brendon's over at wavelinks.online, and I'm over at macstories.net, and we're on social media. Just search for our names. Talk to you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.